Just the other day, I received this message from a buyer. Thank you for the shipment. I noticed that the item was listed as brand new and sealed, but it arrived as open box new. Since this wasn't as described, I'd appreciate a $10 adjustment to help make things right. Let me know if that works for you. Thanks in advance. Best regards. Now, the item I sold was a brand new item in a sealed box, and the way it was shipped, there was no way for this item to have ripped open or been torn open during shipment. So I quickly hopped on my computer and went to the buyer's profile, and I started to look at the buyer's feedback and the feedback that he had left for other sellers on the platform. Sure enough, this guy had left a lot of negative feedback for other sellers on the platform, including this one. The seller falsely listed a badly damaged and distressed healthcare product as brand new and sealed, completely failing to meet the quality expectations. The quality was unacceptable with visible wear and damage. The condition was far from new, packaging was torn, and the product was distressed. The value was a waste of money, and the appearance was nothing like the listing. Worse, the seller ignored all messages. Avoid this seller, blocked. This was a super common theme among all of the reviews he had left. He had left multiple negative reviews, always claiming that the item was supposed to be new, but was received in a new opened box condition. Now, there was actually a lot of sellers that responded to his negative feedback. And in this case, the seller stated, "Thank you for reaching out. Please note the item was sealed and shipped to you in perfect condition. We did not respond to your message as it included a demand for 50% refund in exchange for not leaving a negative review. We value our reputation and take pride in ensuring all of our orders are fulfilled correctly. We are confident that we have acted appropriately and provided you with a product in excellent condition." So now I was pretty confident I was actually dealing with a scammer. And I have a rule in my business that I do not negotiate with scammers. In today's video, I'm going to share how I handled the interaction with this scammer and how I use messages and customer service to avoid negative feedback in the first place. I have a pretty standard rule in my eBay reselling business, and it's that I just do not offer partial refunds. I am more than glad to accept returns. However, you have to return the item in order to get a refund. I typically will never offer a partial refund unless I am 100% confident that I had made a mistake. I am completely willing to accept the cost of having that item shipped back to me just so that I can avoid scams like this. This is standard across almost all industries. Imagine going to your local Home Depot, buying a power tool, getting it home, and the power tool doesn't work. You call up Home Depot and say that you want your money back because you bought this tool and that you got it home and it doesn't work, so you want your money back. They will simply state that you need to bring the item back to the store for the refund. They're not going to offer you a refund while you're sitting at home. You're actually going to have to bring that item back to the store in order to get that refund. This is standard policy for most businesses. So why do we run our eBay businesses any different? Now, to be clear, I never want to blame the customer. I never want to say to the customer, it looks like you're scamming me. It looks like that you're just trying to point out a problem to get a free return. I am never going to call out the customer. And the reason behind this is eBay can look at the messages between you and a customer. And if eBay has to get involved and they see that you are not offering excellent customer service and you're harassing customers or you're calling customers scammers, you will not be on eBay's good side and they will be less likely to help you. So I always want to keep these conversations extremely professional and based in facts, rather than based in my emotions or opinions. As much as I wanted to tell this guy to go kick rocks, I see that you're a scammer and to leave me the hell alone, this would not get me anywhere, so I don't say it. Instead, I tell this buyer that I am extremely concerned that he would have received this item in an open box, that when I shipped the item, it was brand new and it was sealed, and that if he received it in that condition, then there must have been someone tampering with it at the Postal Service. I say that this is a huge issue and that I'm going to open up a IC3 report with the FBI and a Postal Service investigation because this is completely unacceptable that someone would be tampering with his mail. I also tell him that I agree that if the item was received in this condition, it does not match the listing and that I am more than glad to accept his return. He just has to send the item back and I will give him a full refund. However, I do not offer partial refunds. I never once suggest that it's his problem or that he is the problem. I actually want to get on his side and explain to him that I am looking out for him, that I'm going to give him a solution, and that I'm going to handle the problem. In this case, it specifically meant that I am going to look into why his mail is being tampered with, and in the meantime, I'm going to offer you a full refund. Just send the item back. This is a tactic I use all the time. Anytime someone reaches out to me with a problem, even if it's a legit problem, I always want to get on the buyer's side. I never want the buyer to feel like they're fighting me. I want the buyer to feel like I'm their friend and I am looking for a solution to their problems, and I want to match their tone and be just as upset with the problem that they're experiencing as they are. I want them to know that I hear what they're saying. I want them to know that I'm taking their problem seriously and that I'm going to give them some kind of solution to whatever the problem is. Typically, this means I'm going to offer them a return for a full refund. But the key here is I want them to think that I am on their side. This works for a lot of things, but think about the customer that reaches out to you and says, "Where the hell is my item?" Now it's been 3 days, they selected Ground Advantage, and both me and you know that Ground Advantage can take like 10 business days before it arrives. So yes, this customer is reaching out to you super early on and is already complaining about the item not being delivered. You might be apt to say something along the lines of, "Well, I don't control the postal service. You chose Ground Advantage. That's the cheapest shipping method ever. It's going to take 10 business days before it gets there. Give it some time." Or you might even just ignore their message altogether. In fact, I recently had a buyer in Hawaii that had messaged me 3 days after they had purchased the item and said, "Where is my item? This is taking way too long." I wanted to say, "Your item was shipped Ground Advantage. It's probably on a boat in the Pacific Ocean. Give it some time." But I didn't, because that's not going to get me anywhere and it's just going to anger the customer. Now, these answers aren't wrong or incorrect. You're not wrong by telling the customer that it's going to take 10 days for the item to get there. You're not wrong in telling the customer that you did test the item and that the item should have been working when it arrived. You're not wrong in calling out the buyer when they say there's something wrong with their order or some kind of issue. However, for me personally, I always want to seem like I'm taking the buyer's side and I'm offering some kind of quick solution to their problem. I don't want to get in an arguing match with the buyer. I don't want to go down the rabbit hole of saying, "Well, the item worked," or "the item was shipped 2 days ago." I don't want to argue. I want to befriend the customer. I want the customer to take their anger and place it somewhere else. And the only way to do this is by them seeing that I am actively looking for a solution to their problems and that I'm just as frustrated with their problem as they are. So for me, with the person in Hawaii, I said something like, "Thanks for reaching out. It looks like you selected USPS Ground Advantage, which can take up to 10 business days for delivery. I went ahead and checked the tracking. Your package is currently in California with an estimated delivery date of June 10th. I completely understand how important it is to get you your order on time. So I'm going to continue to monitor this shipment for you. In the meantime, you can also track it by typing in USPS tracking 1234567 into Google. It will show you the latest status of your package. Let me know if you have any other questions. I am more than happy to help." Now, I don't actually have to reach out to the Postal Service and get this information. It's a quick thing to just hop on and see where the package is and let them know where the package is. But this goes a long way in helping the customer. Anything you can do to help the customer will help them see you as a friend. And once they see you as a friend or someone that's trying to solve their problem, it is a lot harder for them to leave negative feedback. Now, if I had just ignored this person in Hawaii, they might have left me negative feedback saying something like, "This item took forever to arrive." Now, yes, you can go down the rabbit hole of fighting it with eBay and trying to get that feedback removed. However, for me, I would rather just have the customer have a positive experience. It took me 2 minutes to look up and see where their shipment was, to answer them with the shipment, and explain to them how they can even look at the shipment information themselves. A lot of people don't know that they can actually track their packages, so I always like to go a step further and explain to them how they can look at their tracking information so that they can stay on top of it. But I always want to offer them a solution, and I always want to tell them that I'm taking their concern super serious and that I'm going to give them a solution to their problem. The difference is subtle, but it makes a huge difference in the buyer's experience. Now, yes, these buyers absolutely suck and these buyers are wrong. They should not order things and then demand that the item be there the very next day. They should not choose the cheapest shipping option that I offer and say, why is it not here in 2 days when they paid for the cheapest one that takes up to 10 days to be delivered? These are bad buyers. There's no way around it. However, saying that to the buyer doesn't get you anywhere. My goal is to always offer the buyer a solution and to get them to realize that I am on their side with them. I want to tell them that I am not the problem. I want them to shift their blame for their item being late to the postal service or just to something else other than me. I don't want them to see me as the enemy. I want them to see me as the solution to their problems. And the only way to do this is to explain things in a kind and caring manner and to offer excellent customer service. My rules for responding to issues with orders are pretty simple. One, I have to remove emotions. Yes, I want to tell the person in Hawaii that they live in the middle of the Pacific Ocean and that it's going to take some time for them to get their item there, but I have to remove that emotion and respond in a kind and caring manner. Number two, I want to offer a quick and fair solution to their problem. So typically this means I offer them some kind of return for refund, or in the case of like a late shipment or something, I just offer them the shipping information and explain why it might be taking longer for the item to get there and let them know that I'm going to continue to monitor their package and make sure that it arrives to them. And number three, I never want to argue with the customer. I want the customer to think I'm on their side. I don't want to sit there and say, well, that stain was described in the listing, or this flaw was there, or that the item worked before I shipped it. Why is it not working now? I never want to go down that rabbit hole. If it's something I can maybe troubleshoot with the buyer, I might try to troubleshoot it with the buyer. However, if it's something that I just don't want to deal with, or there is no troubleshooting and they're claiming that the item's broken, I'm just going to offer them the return for refund, because this is the quick and easy solution to their problem. I want to let them know that it's unacceptable that the item arrived broke and that I apologize for the item arriving in this condition. However, I will offer them that refund and return. So I'm on their side and I'm offering them a quick and easy solution to their problem. I see too many sellers out there that want to argue with their buyers, that want to blame their buyers. And yes, let's sit on here and blame our buyers down in the comments below. Let's go on Facebook and blame the buyers. They are wrong. However, us telling them they're wrong does us no good. It's going to get us negative feedback. If eBay gets involved and looks at the messages, they're never going to side with you if you're on there causing problems with their buyers. So in general, you just want to take care of the buyer. Even the scammers, it's best to just be friendly and try to offer them some kind of solution. And a lot of times, once you do this, they go away. The ultimate goal is for them to realize that I'm taking them serious, that I've offered a solution, and the buyer will just back off and say, no problem, thanks for looking into it for me, or I will send that item back to you. Whatever it is, they usually back off after you've offered a solution and agreed with them rather than sitting there and arguing with them. But occasionally they just won't. In fact, that buyer from the beginning that was complaining about the item arriving in an opened condition went back and sent me another message. They said, "Thank you again for your response and your effort you put into your business. It's clear from your reviews that you value honesty and hard work, which I really respect. That said, the items we received do not match the listing as a sealed unit. While I understand this may not have been your fault, the seals were clearly cut and replaced, and this affects our ability to resell them as new. Since the total order value is under $100, it wouldn't be practical for either of us to go through an investigation or wait for a full case to be resolved with eBay. To avoid the hassle, time, cost of a return shipment, I am happy to keep these if you could issue a small $8 partial refund as a goodwill adjustment. This would be greatly appreciated and help maintain a smooth transaction for both sides. Best regards." Notice how he went from $10 in the first request to $8. Also, notice how he mentions my reviews. He is setting the stage for feedback extortion, and to be perfectly honest, he's very good at it. He knows exactly what to say and what not to say so that eBay will allow his feedback to be left. If he said a statement along the lines of, "I need $8 back," or "I will leave you negative feedback," that's technically feedback extortion and eBay would remove that feedback. However, he's very good at it and he's very vague about it on purpose. And because he doesn't actually threaten the negative feedback, eBay will most likely never remove his feedback. And I know this because I've had similar cases to this, where the buyer talks specifically about my feedback, asks for an amount of money back, and then leaves the negative feedback. When I reach out to eBay, they say that he didn't actually say he was going to leave you negative feedback if you didn't do this, therefore it's not feedback extortion. This guy's really good. He actually knows what he's doing when it comes to scamming sellers on the eBay platform. He also claims that the item was cut open and then resealed. However, this contradicts his original statement where he said that the item was just opened, and even the picture he sent me of the box just being ripped open. He never mentioned in the beginning that the item was faked, resealed, or anything along those lines. And the photo that he sent clearly showed the item ripped open. Now all of a sudden he's changing it to that the item was cut open and the seals were replaced. I am 200% sure that this guy is scamming me at this point. However, I still keep it super professional. I message him back and I explain to him that I understand what an inconvenience this is and how it's completely unacceptable that the item arrived in this condition. And I tell him that I am not asking him to wait for an investigation or to wait on eBay, to simply just open a return request. I'll accept it right now. He can send the item back and I will issue him a refund as soon as I get the item back. However, I do go into explaining that I will follow up on this because I don't want more of his mail to be opened. That there's someone between Salt Lake City, Utah and Houston, Texas that is opening mail and that they need to be investigated. So I will still open those reports with him, and I will also let eBay know because there might be more problems out there if packages are being opened between Salt Lake City and Houston, Texas. I want an answer to this. However, he doesn't have to wait for the investigation. He can send the item back and I'll get him his refund immediately. This is the last I ever heard from him. He hasn't answered me. However, I fully expect that in the coming days, I am going to receive negative feedback from this guy. Now, you might be thinking, why didn't you just give him the $8? It's going to cost more than that to have the item shipped back to me. It's not worth getting the negative feedback over an $8 partial refund. And I would say you are completely right. It is not worth shipping the item back. It would actually cost me more to have the item shipped back to me. And you're completely right. It's not worth getting negative feedback over. However, for me personally, in my business, I decided from day one that I will not negotiate with scammers and that I will almost never offer partial refunds because that system is abused on the eBay platform. I have accepted the fact that I will pay more money to have an item returned back to me than to ever offer partial refunds to people just specifically asking for a partial refund. This is a very common tactic on eBay, and it only exists because there's sellers out there that are afraid of negative feedback, that are afraid to pay the shipping cost to have the item come back, are afraid of an open return request. They're afraid of all this, and the people are using it against us. This is a decision you have to make. I'm not saying whether it's right or wrong to offer partial refunds. I'm not even saying in this case that I did the right thing. It probably would have been easier for me to just give the guy $8 and move on. However, I have decided that I will not negotiate with scammers. You might say, well, I'll give him his $8 and then I'll block him and he'll never be able to buy from me again. Well, does he have a friend that does the same thing that he's going to share your store with? Is he going to go on the internet to some kind of forum and let people know, hey, this seller on eBay offers partial refunds. All you have to do is complain. Or will he even do it to the next seller? It's pretty clear from the feedback that he's left multiple times on the platform that he has gotten away with this a lot and that he will probably continue to get away with this. The only way to stop it is to stop giving in to these feedback extortions. I actually already reported him to eBay and reported the messages to eBay. However, from what I see on eBay's end, I don't think they'll ever actually do anything about it. So when I get the negative feedback from this guy, what am I going to do? Well, first, I'm going to try to get it removed. I'm going to reach out to eBay. I'm going to explain everything, and hopefully eBay will side with me and remove the negative feedback. However, I have extreme doubts that this will ever work because I've gone through this example many times with eBay in the prior cases. And if the buyer doesn't clearly state that if I don't do X, they're going to leave me negative feedback, then it's not technically feedback extortion, just him vaguely saying something about my feedback and then demanding money back does not equal feedback extortion in eBay's eyes. So the feedback will most likely stick and remain on my account. So what am I going to do when eBay declines to remove the feedback? I'm going to take a deep breath. I'm going to remember that this is just one buyer on the platform. That feedback doesn't really matter in the long run on the eBay platform. And I'm going to leave a response to his negative feedback. And if you want to know how I leave responses to negative feedback, be sure to hit the like and subscribe button, because that video is going to be released very soon and you're not going to want to miss that one. And if you enjoyed this video, I think you're going to love this one. So go ahead and give it a click.